two boxers in the ring. One is the greatest military power in the world, 11 supercarriers, enough nuclear warheads to erase entire civilizations. The other is an island the size of Belgium, 0 aircraft carriers, a population smaller than a single large city. Logic says the small one has no chance. But what if the small one holds a weapon no army can copy, buy, or replace? A weapon that sits inside every smartphone, every laptop, every artificial intelligence system on the planet. And what if the giant carries one too, inside its F-35 jets, its nuclear submarines, its precision missiles, and that weapon comes from the very same place? This is the story almost no one tells about the Taiwan Strait. Stay with me until the end, because the real answer will surprise you. Let us start with Taiwan. China considers the island a rebel province. The United States calls Taiwan its most valuable ally in the Indo-Pacific, without ever explaining exactly what it would do if China invaded. What most people do not know, Taiwan is not strategically important because of its military exercises. It is economically irreplaceable. TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductor chips. That number is not an estimate. It is a fact verified by multiple independent sources. 90%. Every iPhone, every Android smartphone, every artificial intelligence chip, from NVIDIA, from AMD, from Apple, from Qualcomm, all of it passes through Taiwan. And it is not only consumer electronics. The most advanced military systems need these chips. Satellites, drones, smart missiles, radars, they all have advanced semiconductors at their core. Ask yourself, what happens to the global economy on the day TSMC stops? The answer, nobody knows, because it has never happened. The world's dependence on Taiwan is not a technical footnote. It is the most underestimated fact in modern geopolitics. For decades, the United States had the largest navy in the world. That was the foundation of American strategy. To control the oceans was to control the world. That has changed. As of September 2025, China operates 234 warships. The American Navy operates 219. China now has the largest naval force in the world by number of combat ships. And it is not only quantity, it is speed. China's shipbuilding capacity is roughly 200 times larger than that of the United States. That means in a prolonged conflict, China replaces its lost ships far faster. Lose 50 ships, build 50 new ones in months. The United States, maybe 5. The Center for Strategic and International Studies analyzed the data and reached a conclusion that should alarm anyone who follows geopolitics. If China continues at its current pace and the United States does not revive its naval industry, the probability of an American victory in a prolonged Pacific War drops significantly every year. 70% of China's active ships were launched after 2010. Among American ships, only 25%. The Chinese ships are new. The American ones are aging. Let us talk about nuclear warheads. How many warheads did China have in 2020? Around 200 according to the Pentagon. How many in 2024? 600. 600 operational warheads. China tripled its nuclear arsenal in just 4 years. Projections point to more than 1,000 warheads by 2030, with continued growth until at least 2035. The Defense Intelligence Agency called this expansion the fastest in history, but the numbers are not the most disturbing part. The most disturbing part is what China is doing with these warheads. Low-yield warheads for battlefield use, not as a deterrent, but as a tactical weapon. Hypersonic glide vehicles that fly so fast, they make defense systems nearly useless. The Type 096 submarine, with sea-based nuclear launch capability, giving China a complete nuclear triad. And starting this decade, China will adopt a launch-on-warning posture. If radars detect an enemy launch, it fires its warheads before impact. The decision window in a crisis: minutes, not hours. Think of an F-35 fighter jet. Inside it, more than 400 kilograms of rare earth elements, minerals that do not exist in commercial quantities outside China. An Arleigh Burke destroyer, more than 2,300 kilograms of rare earths. A Virginia-class submarine, almost 4,200 kilograms. Where do these materials come from? China is responsible for 99% of the world's heavy rare earth processing, zero comparable alternatives in the Western world. And China has already used this as a weapon. In 2010, it banned rare earth exports to Japan during a fishing boat dispute. The Japanese economy froze. Companies like Toyota and Sony had to negotiate. Between 2023 and 2025, the same thing with the United States, restricting exports of gallium, germanium, graphite, and antimony. The United States has no capacity to process heavy rare earths at home. None. Pentagon investments to build that capacity are not expected to hit their target until 2027, and even then American output will be less than 1% of what China produces today. The American F-35 depends on Chinese rare earths. The weapon meant to protect the United States depends on materials only China controls. Let us do the most important exercise of this video. Scenario 1. China invades Taiwan. TSMC stops producing chips immediately. The global economy loses 90% of its advanced semiconductors. Smartphones, computers, cars, planes, medical systems, defense equipment, all of it stops. A crisis like that makes the 2008 crash look like a warm-up. Yes, China also needs these chips. It also depends on American and European companies that would be hit. China would detonate its own economy. Scenario 2. The United States imposes a naval blockade on Taiwan. China declares it an act of war. It threatens to use its navy of 234 ships and its nuclear capabilities. The United States has to decide: is Taiwan worth a nuclear war? Scenario 3. China embargoes rare earths. The United States cannot produce F-35 jets, submarines, or Tomahawk missiles. At the same time, China sacrifices its own tech sector. Both lose. Now you understand the trap. It is not that Taiwan is dangerous because China might conquer it. It is dangerous because any move from any side triggers a catastrophe that neither side can control. In May 2026, Xi told Trump, "The question of Taiwan is the most important issue in relations between China and the United States. If mishandled, it could lead to conflict." It is the same logic as the Cold War, mutually assured destruction. But now it is asymmetric and complex. Not only nuclear, it is conventional, economic, technological, industrial, and it involves supply chains that intertwine the two countries in ways that never existed with the Soviet Union. 3 likely scenarios. Path 1. Chronic tension. China keeps expanding. The United States spends 2.8 times more, but loses ground on naval and nuclear indicators. Taiwan remains in permanent tension. Neither side takes the decisive step because the cost is too high for both. Path 2. The accident. A misread exercise, an incident at sea, a communication error. China now has launch on warning. The American Navy is under pressure. An accident is not automatically war, but escalation is possible. Path 3. Adaptation. Both sides recognize the conflict is too costly and begin looking for alternatives. But that path takes years, maybe decades, and the tension continues. When you pick up your phone in the morning, when you open your laptop, when your modern car lights up its screen, do you think about Taiwan? About rare earths? About 234 Chinese ships? Probably not. And that is exactly the point. China's greatest power is not its army. It is not its warheads. It is not its ships. It is the fact that the invisible infrastructure of the global economy, chips, minerals, technology, is woven together with China and Taiwan in a way that cannot be easily undone. The more powerful a country becomes in the global economy, the more vulnerable it also becomes. No one can simply replace any of these links. That is why the Taiwan Strait is paradoxically the safest and the most dangerous place in the world at the same time. Safe because no side can afford the cost of a war. Dangerous because if something goes wrong, the cascade reaches far beyond any military planning. If this video made you think differently, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. See you in the next one.